Hello to the chicos and the chicas. Sensational chess was again delivered to us by the candidates in round 4 of the World Champion Candidates Tournament from Madrid. And today on the menu is going to be the game between Nepomniatchi, the previous challenger, against Alireza Firouzja, the challenger to be, or rather the one that Carlsen expressed his interest playing against. However, what we will see in this game might tell a different story. Super excited to see, well, I wanted to say lots of Sicilians, but I suppose that's relative. Nonetheless, more than one is already lots when it comes to 21st century candidates tournament. So very excited to see a night off. And we are entering the very trendy English attack. This variation has got libraries of theory on it, so good luck to stay on top of your theory. Speaking of which, there was a bit of a theoretical debate here. We are all following theory and its trodden path all the way up to here. Now here I need to stop for a second just to give you a bit of a context as far as where the modern opening theoretical knowledge and stance is at the moment. So after f5, traditionally speaking, a4 has been the most popular move by far, tested by the greatest gurus of the night off on the black side, including Gaff and MVL, Anand, Topalov, Van Wely, the whole lot. And against a4 there is this very cute knight d4 move, which has been analyzed to death. Mind you, super fun, super excited variations. The idea being that after ed, the bishop is trapped on e6 because bishop a2 loses to knight c6, hitting a few too many black pieces, and once we eliminate e7, f6 is gonna break with mate. So that is where theory currently stands. However, here Alireza actually pulled out yet another novelty, bishop c4. This one, however, to my mind at least, is nowhere near as attractive as his try against Hikaru was. To be fair, this is not a novelty, but on top level chess, this has never been played. And by the engine's evaluation, it's not exactly optimal. And best move here by the engine's measure is knight g3, which also appears to be the most logical. Although I have to add that after bishop takes a4, knight a1, white definitely has every right to apply for the worst piece ever in chess history with that knight on a1. That being said, depending f6, knight f5 idea, which by the way was played in the game too, is so strong that white actually might get by without using that knight at all. Very curious story. Anyway, Nepo did not choose to do that. He played instead king b1, allowing his knight a retreat square. Makes perfect sense, although now the position is objectively equal. And here is where the real novelty actually hit, and that was f6. And I'm very surprised that it seems to have taken Firouzja by surprise that this was the turns of events, or, you know, at least his responses were not quite up to the level we would have expected from Firouzja, who took back on f6, correct move, takes, knight df6. Both knights can actually take back, but I like the way how Firouzja took back because the e8 knight covers g7 against all kinds of filthy shenanigans on the king side. And that black king does feel a little bit funky, that is for sure. Knight g3, bishop takes f1, the first inaccuracy. Either king h8 or queen c7 continuing development was desirable. Bishop takes f1 was a little bit meh, but still it's manageable. Rook takes a3, great move, forcing some weaknesses on the king side. And after b3, king h8, ed5, we arrive at the crucial position of the game. I must add that at this point, Nepo, as you can see, has 1:24 on the clock. Firouzja has already gone down to 37 minutes, which is very uncharacteristic. Nepo's time usage is normal. But yeah, Firouzja is definitely, it feels like he landed in a position where he doesn't feel comfortable. And I don't want to sound like, you know, patronizing towards Firouzja, who is one of the greatest talents of our time, but you would think that, you know, skipping 6 months of competitive chess for the sake of prepping perhaps backfired on him, because it just feels like he just plays too rusty here. Played knight d6 and essentially threw the game away in one move, allowing Nepo to pick off the b4 pawn, and that's all she wrote. It's not really, by the way, the fact that there's a pawn, white is a pawn up now. It's more the fact that now black absolutely lacks play, and the white pieces are just going to re-enter the fray with elementary power. The black king is compromised, the white one isn't, and so these factors together create a mix where it is just unplayable. I don't want to sound too dramatic, but this is on this level of chess that we are now observing, kind of candidates level of chess, this is a resignable position, no less. Rook c8, and we went, by the way, with Rook c8 from +3 to +6 in a blink of an eye. Rook b8, Queen e1 was the engine's preference, but even here, someone of Nepo's stature would not actually, give a chance to anyone, really, from here on out. But most definitely Rook c8 was a helping hand, and a very curious motif occurred here that I quite liked, and that was that after bishop b6, queen d7, the quite cute queen e1, this retreating move, attacking e5, created a situation where both black knights are technically exactly one move away from covering e5, yeah? So the two knights technically have 4 squares to defend the pawn, and yet all 4 moves are impossible. Actually, knight g4 is possible, but loses to h3. And as a result of that, the e5 pawn is actually not defensible in this position. That is absolutely insanity. Like, with such an immense level of piece concentration around the pawn, to make that pawn undefendable like this, you almost had to construct a position to achieve that. Rook b8 was played, no difference. Bishop a5. Nepo is aiming to read out the bishop to the long diagonal. Knight c4, but let's be honest, this is now just Firouzja trying to muddy the waters, but yeah, it's not gonna cut it. Bishop c3, e5 is hanging. The knight on g3 coming to f5 is always such a powerful extra piece to come into the fray. There is very little that the Frenchman can do from here on out, and here Nepo even played a little bit for the crowd for this marvelous knight f4 move, a really nice way to exploit the fact that the pawn is pinned, and now he's just trading. If they take on c3 here, instead of taking f4, then we just take back very simply, and now the queen is awkwardly glued to the knight, so that means I have to go all the way back here, and after knight d5, now I have got all kinds of deadly threats. My favorite one is that after bishop a5, queen d3, white is actually threatening knight f6, followed by an unstoppable mate on h7. This is how bad this position is for black. So Firouzja took on a f4, which obviously meant that now the white pieces are even more active, and the black king is getting into more and more trouble. Queen e2, once again a beautiful dual purpose move. Note that the rook now is pinned, excuse me, the pawn is pinned to the queen, so the rook is immune. Knight b2, rook f1, and now the final pile up for the attack on the king side. Rook e8, rook h4, and we can already see that the white pieces are just flooding in on the king side. And f5 actually allowed Nepo to finish in style. A marvelous destruction was to be seen with rook h7, queen h5, knight f5. And now this is actually forced mate. Rook g1 followed by queen h8 is the main idea. Bishop f6 was played, and after rook g1, Firouzja resigned. The finish would have been king f8, bishop, queen check, king up, rook check, bishop takes, and queen takes check, checkmate. It's difficult to find any concluding words for a game like this, because it really did look like white absolutely outclassed black in this game. And obviously there is not a class difference between these two players, but something went really, really wrong. Either in Firouzja's prep, or just in his in-game mentality that he allowed to drop the ball with knight d6. That was And he actually spent 6 minutes on that move too. Yeah, Queen C7 was necessary when, although white is clearly better, there is quite a lot of work here still to be done. Interestingly enough, Rook takes F6 is the best move here. Knight takes loses to D6. Bishop has to take. And now white is going to dominate these white squares with the knights. And also pick off the B4 pawn. But this comes at the cost of an exchange. So this is still messy business. And let's face it, for a human, at least for a human like myself, this is not obvious that white is so much better here. Right, we had an exchange down, we have got, we don't even have a pawn for it. That D7 pawn is mighty frightening, and of course we have bishop C5 and bishop B6 to cover the promoting square, but it's still tough. But with knight D6, he handed it to Nepo on a platter, and now Nepo seems to be the crystal clear favorite, which, by the way, if he does win, is going to create a very awkward situation as far as the World Championship final is concerned, because I'm pretty sure that Magnus will not play another match against Nepo, which means that potentially whoever comes second in the candidates will actually have a chance. So interesting rounds ahead, that's for sure, folks. I didn't make a recap on this one, but I would like to tell you that if you appreciate high quality endgame technique, the Richard Rapport Hikaru game was sensational. And this, as a parting thought, I'm going to say this much: sometimes you find that the draw can be far more entertaining than a win. It requires a fair bit of, willingness to accept this fact, but the way how Hikaru again held what was meant to be a slightly worse endgame was just nothing short of spectacular. So if you have the time, check that game out, please. This is it for me now. I look forward to delivering round 5 to you in the same fashion. I will see you then. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, to sub, to super like if you like. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.